Hi, I'm here at the IETF in Madrid, Spain this summer, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the internet here in Spain, which is kind of interesting. So IPv6 and IPv4 are two versions of the same internet protocol. And as you can imagine, 6 is more advanced than 4. It's actually been specified now for 20 years or something. But the adoption of IPv6 over the default, which is IPv4, has been slow and spotty around the world. But you would expect more developed countries with big, robust national telecommunications companies to be at the forefront of adopting new protocols, which is actually true, except for Spain. If you look at the map of IPv6 adoption in Europe, Spain is still very red on the map, meaning it hasn't adopted it much. And most of Western Europe is green. And the reason, some speculate, I think there's some truth to this, is that actually law enforcement and the intelligence community have globally, this is the US and Canada and so on included, and also European countries, have said that moving from IPv4 to IPv6 sort of disrupts their ability to track users online. So first, why is that? And second, why is that a problem for human rights? So first, the reason is that when you have IPv4, you actually have fewer IP addresses to allocate to your users. And so the technology you use to be able to have more and more users and more devices is something called a NAT. I'm not even going to spell out the acronym because it doesn't matter, but a NAT is a device that kind of allocates individual devices and users and maps those users onto a sort of centralized device that then shares IP space. And so a lot of, like software that police stations or intelligence community are using rely on IPv4 technology and rely on NATs to have finer grained details about who owns a device and where they are. With IPv6, it broadens the address space to almost infinity, essentially, so that every single device a user has its own address. So that would be much more difficult to track over time. Those new protocols and their implementation also rotate so that you don't have a persistent identifier on the internet. That's a really good thing for human rights. And so using IPv4 might just sound like, an ossified problem with protocols and upgrading versions, but it isn't that. It's actually an issue for human rights because the newer protocols do respect human rights more, especially the right to privacy and the right to information. They're more censorship resistant and they're overall better. And so being able to migrate from IPv4 to IPv6, either through telecommunications infrastructure, software upgrades, and things like that is really important. It would be really, really important for Spain to do that in earnest and to create some regulatory reasons why that should happen, like there exists in Germany and other European countries. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm happy to answer questions, and bye from Madrid.